Your word is a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. I have taken an oath and confirmed it, that I will follow your righteous ways. I have suffered much. Preserve my life, Lord, according to your word. Accept, Lord, the willing praise of my mouth, and teach me your laws. Though I constantly take my life in my hands, I will not forget your law. The wicked have set a snare for me, and I have not strayed from your precepts. Your statutes are my heritage forever. They are the joy of my heart. My heart is set on keeping your decrees to the very end.
Morning, church.
Thanks, Nathan.
I'll be reading from Acts 27, verse 13 to 20. When a gentle south wind began to blow, they saw their opportunity. So they weighed anchor and sailed along the shore of Crete. Before very long, a wind of hurricane force, called the northeaster, swept down from the island. The ship was caught by the storm and could not head into the wind. So we gave way to it and were driven along. As we passed to the lee of a small island called Corda, we were hardly able to make the lifeboat secure. So the men hoisted it aboard. Then they passed ropes under the ship itself to hold it together. Because they were afraid, they would run aground on the sandbars of Cyprus. They lowered the sea anchor and let the ship be driven along. We took such a violent battering from the storm, the next day they began to throw the cargo overboard. On the third day they threw the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands. When neither the sun nor the stars appeared for many days, and the storm continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Kelsey.
We realize we don't make perfect, so we're so dependent on you today. And Lord, even as we do this so freely this morning, we're aware of all around the world that your church gathers, sometimes in very dark, difficult places. And that there's much struggle going on in our own nation. We, your people, Lord, seek to follow your ways in Jesus' name. Amen. Oh, these are just some beautiful flowers this morning, friends. It's so lovely. And thank you to those who serve so diligently. The title, the title for the talk this morning comes from a few verses preceding the ones that Nathan read to us and Kelsey from the Old Testament. From this one, in Acts 27, just preceding the story, 27 verse 9, much time had been lost and sailing had already become dangerous, because by now it was after the Day of Atonement. And so the title is called Making Up for Lost Time. Much time had been lost. It was one of those moments, this journey that Paul was taking with the centurion and those on the boat, and of course he was heading for Rome. They had a deadline, they had destinations, there were dangers, all these D's, there was this Day of Atonement. Do you feel sometimes your life's like that? You've got deadlines, destinations, dangers, there's things to be done. I mean, how many times you set out on a journey and you find it's a dead end? I mean, literally in your car. Shirley and I have done that often. I've usually got the map book saying, this is the way to go. And she's saying, Murray, maybe we should consider this. And I say, no, this is the way. And only to find that you've got to do a U-turn and go back and retrace your steps. We were going up to work somewhere many years ago before we came here, and there was a destination. We were going to this place, and folks were expecting us. It was about a day's journey. We had some people to meet, and time was passing before cell phones. You couldn't just make a call, and you start worrying, realizing we're never going to get there on time. Who is we going to meet? Are they going to be there to meet us? And when we did meet them, there was some misunderstandings in communication. Accommodation didn't quite work out the way we expected. I think the people were expecting some folk that didn't quite look and act like us. And we were a little different, a little quirky. And so all these things happen. You know what that's like? You've got a destination, you've got somewhere to go. And it doesn't quite work out the way you thought. And here's the thing for us to start considering as I begin this interaction, this talk with you this morning, is it possible to make up lost time? And so let's think about time just for a moment, because there are really two kinds of time. There's chronos, there's chronological time. Tap your watch. You got it with you? Tap it, there it is. You know, that's ticking away. 1 second, 2 seconds, that's going behind you. But then there's kairos time, which is God's time and His appointed time. And here's the thing, you see, chronos gets made up through kairos. You can make up chronos time, lost time, through kairos time, through God's intervention, through His time, His timing in your life. So we get into these places and we lose time, where we wonder, you know, these decisions we've made, will we be able to make them up? Well, think about time. Think about chronos and kairos. You can make it up, and we'll look through the passage how God makes up lost time. Then there's this reality. If you go to the next picture, thanks. So we're talking about making up lost time. So you need to get vehicle to travel in, right? We haven't got a time machine, so let's get on a Volvo ocean racing yacht. Because what kind of energy, what kind of power do these things use? They use wind power. So we've got to think about that. Think about renewable energy. Because we're depleting the rest quickly. And you're using up your energy, I'm using up my energy, human energy, very quickly. So this kind of power, you know, and of course, we're in the book of Acts right here. I mean, Holy Spirit power, right? Free gift, renewable energy. Amen. Hey? So you've got kairos time, God's time, and you've got His power, His energy, and the possibilities begin to change. So, you know, what gets these travelers into this predicament? Well, there's a whole bunch of well-meaning consultants. There's the centurion himself, who's taking Paul to Rome. There's the ship owner, who's got a vested interest in his boat, right? And there's the pilot on the boat himself, or the captain of the ship. And all of the above should be folks who know what they're saying. They're well-meaning consultants. And, you know, we consult folk in our journeys. We consult them, these well-meaning consultants. And there's a lot of voices quite often that we do consult. That's a good thing. But we come to this point. You see, the real voice in the story, the real voice that should be heard is a prisoner who's Paul. And so here's the thing, here's my first point to you, friends. If we're going to make up lost time, we've lost. We've taken a couple of wrong turns, we made a couple of mistakes, we're going to make up lost time, we're going to have to quieten the majority voices, we're going to have to quieten those voices, those majority voices that are quite loud, well-meaning consultants. They are well-meaning consultants. The centurion, the pilot, the ship owner, they're well-meaning consultants. We're going to have to quieten those to hear that still small voice, that one voice of God. And to Acts 27, verse 21. And this is just after what Nathan read to us. After they had gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and he said, "Men, you should have taken my advice." He's a real proper parent, isn't he? He's a real parent. Our child, our son, or somebody who works with us. You should have taken my advice. You know, he just lets it sink in. Just for that moment, okay? That little moment you cherish it. You know, I saw you were going to make that mistake, but you still went ahead. And he just says, "Look, you should have taken my advice. Not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourselves this damage and this loss." So, as we begin to consider this kairos time, this power of God, begin to, you know, this discernment of quietening down the majority voices and listening to that single voice, you've got to take stock of the damages and the losses. And they might well be there. You know, the decisions we've made, the course we've taken, there may well be some damage and there may well be some losses taking place. Is that true? Does that happen? Is there sometimes some damage and loss? There's sometimes some reality, some consequence of the decisions we take. And so we take stock of those. But it's not the centurion's voice, it's not the ship owner's voice, it's not the pilot's voice that's going to make the difference in you and I making up for lost time. So let's move on to this beautiful picture of these. See, for me, this boat, this is another beautiful Volvo boat. As we begin to discern God's will for our lives and discover the truth in our circumstances, start listening to His voice, the serious business of having fun, could I say, because these guys, I tell you what, are enjoying what they're doing. Aren't they? They really are. So what's God going to do? As you determine to tune out the majority well-being voices, the well-intended voices, and you tune into this one voice, this one captain, this one voice that was contained, you're now listening to that one voice, because I tell you what, this team is highly skilled, highly trained, and they know where they're going. They're making up for lost time, and they're making it up well. Wind power. There's no engine power here, it's just wind power, gift power, their sails are tuned, they're aligning themselves, they're well skilled. So, as God begins to align us according to His will, and I just call this, this team for me it just looks like the thrill of doing God's will. The absolute thrill, the enjoyment of doing God's will together. So I realize I've gone down some roads, I've gone down some dead ends, a couple of U-turns, but God has given me, and what He's going to do, He's going to renew you and I, He's going to renew the team that works with you, He's going to renew those around us, and He's going to add some new folk to the team. We're going to count our losses. The team that works with us is going to be trained, and here's the thing. So, as you read this story about Saul and these guys, Paul, heading off towards Rome, you've got to think back about another journey in the Old Testament about a guy who abandoned ship. His name was Jonah, wasn't it? So there's one thing we've got to clarify if we're going to make up lost time. And the Old Testament had a name for it. They called it Tarshish illusion. You see, God says to Jonah, listen Jonah, won't you go me to where? To Nineveh. Because I've got some work for you there to do. So what does Jonah do? Just like you and I, he goes out to Joppa, where the little ticket office is, and he buys himself a ticket, not to Nineveh, but to Tarshish. And so he loses time. Lots and lots of time. God said Nineveh, Jonah said Tarshish. Why Tarshish? Well, Tarshish was well known. It was a beautiful city. Beautiful people lived there. They made beautiful boats there. There was industry, there was enterprise. Tarshish was also the word for a kind of an elusive place, a kind of an island kind of style. You know that picture you have sometimes of not this reality I'm in, Lord, please. It's called the Tarshish illusion. God says, Nineveh, I say, go down to Joppa, buy a ticket for Tarshish. You with me, friends? You've been there, you've done that? The Tarshish illusion. Well, there's no Tarshish illusion here anymore. And so this new team, this new renewal, this making up for lost time decides human power is not going to do it. Let's go for renewable energy. Let's go for God's Spirit. Let's go for a team that is well trained, well skilled. I keep looking at this delightful wife that the Lord's given me, in her 50s, who is reinventing herself and recreating herself through the skills she's acquired. I married this, tough, well-disciplined ballet professional dancer. I did, and there she is at the back. Still married to me, and she's reinvented herself now. She's got herself trained in tap dancing and modern dancing. I mean, she did a little of those in her earlier years, but she's now become trained so she can teach others. Isn't that cool? Yeah. You see, the Tarshish illusion We spend a lot of time and a lot of energy in one thing. And there are many voices there to consult. But when you hear the one voice, you get onto a boat like this. And it's the thrill. It's the thrill of doing God's will. There's just nothing quite like it. Could you say amen to that? Is that worth thinking about? Worth considering? The fun and the enjoyment that's accessible, that's available with others who are prepared to reskill, re-equip, prepared to make mid-course directions. There's this beautiful phrase in the book of Acts. Whenever they heard the one small voice of God in amongst all the others, and there were many others, whenever they heard it, they used to say, it seemed good to us and the Holy Spirit. It seemed good to us and the Holy Spirit. And God would have. So you got the first one. You got the first point this morning, friends? You okay? You with me? It's about quietening all those well-meaning voices. Those well-meaning consultants, and hearing the one voice that counts. And in this case, that voice was in prison. It was Paul. And so in verse 22, but now this is Kairos time, we've lost Chronos time, but now, he says, because the ship's going to run aground, but now I urge you to keep up your courage, because isn't this beautiful? Not one of you will be lost. Not one of you will be lost. Just, you're looking a little tired. Just rub your shoulder, your friend next to you, to say you won't be lost. You won't be lost. You might have made a couple of mistakes. I mean, the centurion made a mistake. The pilot made a mistake. The ship owner made a mistake. They sailed too early. They thought they had the right wind, and toe begin die boot net mekaar uitval. I mean, so much so that, as Nathan has read, they tied ropes around this boat to hold it together. Later on in the story, the crew wants to show, throw the prisoners overboard. Let's just light the ship. Let's get rid of a couple of bodies. They start throwing the tackle overboard. Everything starts getting thrown overboard. They're panicking. They're throwing it overboard. And Paul's standing in the middle. He's just hearing God. And he says, not one of you will be lost. Well, at this stage, as we know, most people that go on little fishing boats, as is the same today, the crew, they can't swim. I mean, that's a reality, isn't it? It's folks who are trying to make ends meet so they get a job on a boat. They can't swim. When the ship goes down, they get it down. Paul stands up and he says, no one will be lost. Friends, you've got to hold on to that. So as we hear this one voice, now I urge you, keep up your courage. Last night, an angel of the God to whom I belong. This is significant. I belong to God, and whom I serve, stood beside me and said, do not be afraid, Paul. So here's my second truth for you today. Point, whatever you'd like to go. Here's the thing. See, God can only guide a moving ship, can't he? He can only guide a moving ship. So we're better off, here's the point, we're better off in the storm with God than we are in a safe harbor, in the calm, without God. So we're better off in the storm with God than we are in a safe little haven in the calm without God. And so what does Paul say to us? This God whom I serve, this God to whom I belong. You see, Chronos time and Kairos time are different, aren't they? Chronos time we're so used to, it's ticking away at this time, Big Ben in London, doing its thing, Greenwich Mean Time, African Mean Time, but meanwhile, God's time. But meanwhile, God is at work. And so Paul stands up on this boat and he says, this God to whom I belong. And so, I'll just have that next picture. Don't be afraid. Oh, don't you love this one? So this is where the race is lost and won.
You see, these guys prepare for the race long time before. So they prepare, and they do well, they get the logistics, they get their map. But around these buoys, and this is just off Cape Town, these little yellow markers, the tacticians in the moment, they win or lose. Somebody makes a decision around there, somebody takes it inside out. It's a little bit like mountain bike racing. Not quite as adventurous, but if you've ever done a little bit of MTB mountain bike racing, you come down off these mountains sometimes with these little tracks, and they call it which line are you going to take? So you're going a little faster, a little out of control, in other words. You're getting a little older now, the bike's not as steady as it used to be. And so you go speeding down this hill, but if you don't take the right line around the bottom corner, the bike will drift with you, and you'll end up, you end up off track. And so these races are one of our. So how should we live our lives? Well, we should live our lives as believers, as if we should plan our lives and live our lives as if Jesus won't return. We should plan well. He won't come in my life, but we should live today as if he's going to come back tomorrow. So we live with a short account of forgiveness and hope, but we plan well for the future. And so these people, they're having this thrill of doing God's will. They're enjoying themselves together because they're being renewed by the Holy Spirit. So we realize we'll make up last time, friends, we were better off in the storm with God than in the calm without God. How does that sound?
Yes.
Is it worth considering? Don't be afraid to implement the new. Don't be afraid to implement that new thing God is speaking to you about. Don't be afraid. Everyone else says to you the ship's going down, but God has whispered His guidance, His love. God can only guide a moving ship. So, the long-term planning, I belong, I serve. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, says God. And you must stand trial before Caesar. And God has graciously given you the lives of all who will sail with you. I'm just amazed at that. And so some of them are people like Paul who's following God, and the rest are a bunch of criminals. And God has given all of them to Paul. And so lastly, friends, we're going to make up lost time. You will make up lost time when you realize that God's redemptive plan, His long-term plan for your life, is much bigger, it's much stronger than all the mistakes, all the failures you and I have ever made and you ever will make. Because there were plenty of mistakes in this journey. Plenty of decisions that had been made that were wrong. They'd sailed at the wrong time. They'd made poor decisions. But God's plan, you must stand trial. I've got a destination for your life. I mean, it looks like it's not going to end well for Paul, but Paul knows something. He knows about the great reversal. He knows that these people who are going to judge him on earth will be judged by God in the future. And so he's unafraid to go to Rome. And he realizes God's major plan is much bigger than the small mistakes that have been made on the journey. And God's graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. Look at this boat. You recognize that beautiful mountain? This is the Volvo boat races that comes around Table Bay. These skilled yachtsmen make decisions on that. They're sailing and they've got a destination in mind, and they're making decisions like you and I are making decisions about our future. And God is speaking to you right now, to some of you, about some of the mistakes and some of the struggle, and He's simply saying to you, I know where I'm going to put you in. In a year's time, in a month's time, in 2 years' time. I know I have a destination in mind for you. And as you stand before this God and you say, this is the God I belong to, and the God I serve, the thrill of doing God's will, God has graciously given you the lives of
called, who will sail. And he says again in verse 25, so keep up your courage, men, for I have faith in God, that it will happen just as he told me. Nevertheless, we must run aground on some islands. So sorry about the boat. The boat didn't make it. And sometimes the boat doesn't make it. But you make it. You make it because of his grace. And all of those he has given you. Mark chapter 15 tells about how Chronos and Kairos come together. How linear time, or seconds and minutes and hours, and God's time come together. To redeem time forever. To help us to make up time in any and every situation. In every relationship, in every struggle, in every reality. You've studied something, you've done something, you've been somewhere, you feel like you need to make up lost time. Well, what happened this morning? In Mark chapter 15, very early in the morning, the chief priests and the elders and the teachers of the law and the whole Sanhedrin, they reached a decision. They decided. Humanity decided. They bound Jesus, they led him away, and they turned him over to Pilate. And so Pilate is the powerhouse of the day. And who does Pilate want to please? The majority, the crowds. As you read the story in Mark 15, it picks up and he asks the question, are you the king of the Jews? Asked Pilate. Yes, it is you say, Jesus replied. The chief priests accused him of many things. So again Pilate asked him, aren't you going to answer anything? Jesus, aren't you going to say something? Aren't you going to defend yourself? And to his amazement, verse 5, but Jesus still made no reply, and Pilate was amazed. Because Jesus knew about Chronos time, and he knew about Kairos time, and he knew this was God's time for him. And so he surrenders to the will of the Father. And because he does this, friends, you and I can make up for lost time. Because Jesus is contained in time. Now, in verse 6, now it was the custom of the feast to release a prisoner, and the people requested. And so who did they get released? What's his name? Barabbas get the deal. And the crowd, the majority, they come up and they ask Pilate to do for them as they usually did. Down in verse 11, but the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have Pilate release Barabbas instead. And so this evil guy gets released and innocence gets put on a cross. What shall I do then with the one you call the King of the Jews? Pilate asked. What do they say? Crucify him, they shouted. Why? What crime has he committed? Asked Pilate. What crime has he committed? But they shouted all the louder because there was no crime. They shouted all the louder. Crucify him. Crucify him. Crucify him. Wanting to satisfy the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. So where are you this morning, my friend? Do you believe that God can make up lost time? Do you believe there really is, unending, renewable energy from God's Holy Spirit available to you this morning? Do you really believe that He can renew and refresh and reskill and equip you and I for a better future than what we've had for today? Do you believe that?
Yes.
Do you believe there's Chronos time, this watch of yours which is ticking away? Do you believe there's this Kairos time, this God moment where He can renew and refresh you and say to you, I know where I want you to be. I have a destination for you. So the boat looks like it's falling apart, right? So the boat might need to run aground. But no one will be lost. Not one. Not one life. And so it looks like as Jesus is taken out, in this chronological time, it's about between 6 and 9 a.m. in the morning, that Good Friday, He's led out. It looks like this time thing is coming to an end.
But there's a resurrection, isn't it? And there's a Jesus who makes the way. And there's a God who gives us His Holy Spirit to renew this morning, to refresh you in a way that is inexplicable. Father, we thank you that this morning